Okay, this is after we've added the water and it's been left overnight and dried. I popped a picture up just to show you the difference between, you'll see here, when the water's added it goes quite intense and people go a little bit, oh god, you know, that's quite scary. But obviously overnight it dries and it softens quite a lot, and it almost looks like a pastel drawing there. I'm just going to pan down there. Okay, so now where it has softened up so much, we need to go back in and we're just going to do more colour blocking. So basically repeating exactly the same as we did putting down our underlayers. If you're following this and just doing dry pencil, you're just going to carry on adding those layers exactly as you were beforehand. I'm going to grab a clean sheet of glassine before I get going. So try and keep your glassine under your hand all the time. I'm just going to double mine over again, so I've folded that a couple of times now. So I'm using the same pencils that I used yesterday, and what happens is each time we do a layer and work all over, we start to refine the first part, colour blocking, quite loose again still, starting to think about the direction that the fur is going in, but not worrying about it too much, because as I say, we're still ignoring all the texture. That comes much later stages. So I just picked up my black first of all. I'm going to go in. I always do my my darks first. I colour block in my darks again first. It'll be going back in with my black darkest shadow areas first of all. And then I will go in with my next two darks, which are my Caput Mortem Violet. It's always the same usually. My Caput Mortem Violet and my dark indigo, and then I'll start working up through the mid-tones. So there'll be Caput Mortem, there'll be that burnt ochre, there's a little bit of touch of Andanthrine blue. It's literally just as quick as this, just I'll start building up. We just remember this is about pressure 4 to 5 now I'm using, still holding it quite far up the pencil, and we just want to start filling that tooth. We filled quite a bit of it yesterday, but we just want to fill it even more now, so that we want to get rid of all that graininess in the paper. If you're listening to this and you've already watched some of my other tutorials, and I know I'm repeating myself, but for anyone who's watching this, this is like your first tutorial with me, we want to build up. Remember I said about the mountains and valleys in the previous, I did a short little video explaining the mountains and valleys as the texture and the tooth of the paper. We want to start filling up all of that tooth now, and then when it starts to really build, all of a sudden you'll feel a change in the there'll be a feel. You'll suddenly feel it. You'll feel a change in the texture of the pencil going down, and it almost starts to feel smooth like butter. People then panic going, oh, I can't get any more layers on, because you think that you've lost all of your tooth. You haven't. That's at the point where you can really start to sharpen up your pencils and cut through that butter-like texture, and like I say, and then you can create the fur texture. So I'm just literally eyes on my reference photo. I'm just going in, increasing depth of shadow, and don't be scared as well. Push. If you think you've got it dark enough, do it one more time. Push it that little bit more. And still not paying much attention to detail at the moment. You see, I'm just quick sketchy strokes, scumbling in places. keeping my pencil on the paper. A tiny bit there. And also remember what I said. Keep your little pressure test watercolour pencil sample to hand as well, because you can have a play now. Like I've switched to using Polychromos. You can carry on if you want just using the Albrecht Dürer all the way through. I've just switched to using my Polychromos, using the same colours. I might bring in a couple of luminants as well, but we need this depth of shadow to be in there, so that then we can start putting our highlights over the top much later on. If we haven't got the depth of contrast there, then that is what makes the difference, and that's the whole beauty, that's the whole reason, well, one of the reasons of using the pastel mat. We want to take advantage of the fact that we can work dark over light. So eyes on that reference, 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 reference. Keep flicking eyes backwards and forwards. Looking at shapes, pulling out all those shapes that we lost when we added the water and it went a little bit soft and fuzzy and loose. Just simply looking for our dark shadows and shapes, and popping them all back in. I know that looks like I'm taking this too dark, so I'm using black here, but I will be switching and we'll be popping dark indigo. I could put mortem over the top, and then we'll put our greys over the top later on as well. But you can't take it too dark, because if you do, you can always lift it up again later on. We'll repeat this process more than once. Someone did do a really good analogy of my works in progress, each layer. Basically each layer, because I work all over at the same time, each layer seems to bring the portrait, the picture, into more focus, and I thought it was a really, really good way of explaining how I work. So let's say with each layer that you do, you refine with each sweep of the pencil. So each sweep means each layer of pencil that you apply. So what I'll do is I'll switch over in a second. What shall we do? No, what I'll do is I'll work the whole piece. Sometimes, because of the camera, I can only get part of the horse in. I would work this area and then move on to the bottom piece. So do like all my colours up here and then move to the bottom. But what I'll do is I'll work a whole layer showing you with the black, and then I'll move on. I'll stop, scan, and then move on to the next layer, which will be the dark indigo. And then I'll do the same with Caput Mortem Violet and the Caput Mortem, and then work my way up through the midtones. So what I'll do then is, obviously you're seeing what I'm doing here with the black. I'm going to speed up now, and then we'll slow down when I switch over to my dark indigo. Okay. So we've done our black layer. Now I am switching over. So my next dark is my dark indigo. So again, sweep top to bottom, and you'll find you're going to lose all of your lights, any hints of the lights that were there. But don't panic, because we'll pop those in later on. So anywhere you can see a hint of the indigo, pop it in, even if it's just an these are like I say, it's undertones, even if you just see it underneath in a couple of places. Again, I can already see the tooth beginning to fill a little bit. We'll be going over this area next with our Caput Mortem and Caput Mortem Violet, and then our burnt ochres, possibly a walnut brown. I might use a couple of Pablos as well. You see here we soften back that black that we put down, so instantly knocks that black back. Blue undertones here in that ear. Okay, so I'll speed up again now. You'll see what I'm doing is exactly the same as I did before. So what I'll do is I'll fly through, I'll put in the dark indigo and the Caput Mortem Violet before I come back to the next midtones, which will be Caput Mortem and our burnt ochre and one of our browns, one or two of our browns. Okay, so speeding up now. coming up to my mid-tones now, so I'm switching over. I'm going to be using Caput Mortem and then Burnt Ochre next. So exactly the same as before, starting at the top and working our way down. Now, previous pencil that I just used was the Caput Mortem Violet. You just need to be quite careful. I use the Caput Mortem Violet a lot down around here where you've got much cooler tones, the indigos around here. I'll be using the Caput Mortem over on the warmer side, which is mainly where the light's hitting it here. So a few areas where there's a combination of the two, but mainly, say, the violet is a much cooler shade, so I'll use that in, let's say, where I've much cooler areas. And this Caput Mortem is much warmer, so that will be going over a lot of this warm fur, where I'm going to also pop my Burnt Ochre over the top next. So when you think about how many layers can go down on this paper, you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, every time you go back and forth with the pencil, you're putting another layer down on there. So you can see I'm sweeping this over the top. Glazing. So glazing the whole piece now, because this horse is very much this colour with undertones of the blue and highlights of the ochre. So this is my closest pencil to the colour of the horse. That and some browns will go down as well. So I'm just literally knocking out all of the highlights. And this is all about blending your pencils as well. We use our pencils to blend. We don't use any other form of blending now. No blending tools. It's just layer upon layer of pencil. And when we go in, when we get to our lights soon, we will, you'll instantly see how much the pencils then blend, and all of these lovely colours and undertones you've put down underneath will soften dramatically. But if they aren't in place, then it'll just look really flat. The more colours you've got down in your undertones, the more it will benefit you when you come to start putting your lights. And then we'll probably knock it all back. If we've still got the texture and the tooth of the paper showing through, we're probably going to knock it all back again. And when I say knock it back, I mean we'll go through and repeat exactly what we've started here with our darks, our mid-tones, and we'll work our way up through. And repeat it and refine with each layer. So here I'm just taking this, everywhere that I can see it, I'm just blending, mixing. So much tooth of the paper showing through here, it's horrible, it's really grainy. Whereas up here it's starting to smooth out. So we'll just keep pushing it until we've lost that grain and we've just got beautiful soft sheen to this coat. We work it obviously slightly different because it's such short horsehair. We do work this kind of portrait much differently to our long fur on the dogs and the cats that we've done to date. So this is much too light here, so I just need to take it all back out. And now quickly and now loosely, see, holding halfway up again. Because the further up the pencil you hold it, not only do you add more pressure, but you start to tend to get all finicky with the details. I want you to be nice and loose when you're doing this application. Even if you're doing this and you haven't put down the watercolour pencil under painting, you'll still work it this way. If you want to work a small area at once and bring it to completion, absolutely fine. But still follow the same principle of working dark to light up through your midtones. See past all the details, see past all the highlights. And in time, you're following my colour palette, but in time you'll start to see the colours yourself, or hopefully you'll be looking at your reference photo and by now you'll be seeing your own colours, so you don't have to follow exactly the same colours that I'm putting in. These are obviously the colours that I see. I do encourage people that if they see other colours, I need a little bit of dark down there. I don't think I took my dark far enough down here earlier on. It's better. So yeah, if you see your own, see different colours in there to what I'm seeing, pop them in. Obviously don't pop in bright yellow or green if you can help it. But if you want to, that's fine. There's no rules. Yeah, really needed. You see here that this area here now, how much that is sort of blended out. Komodo over here is quite sort of shapes still. I'm gonna work over the whole lot, let's say, using this kaput mortem and also then the burnt ochre. In fact, if I switch, just take this over here. If I switch over now to my burnt ochre, I'll work on this area using both pencils at the same time. Okay, so let's go back up here into the ear. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing now with burnt ochre. And then we'll probably go in next with either a brown, dark sepia or a nougat. I shall have a look in a second. And my eyes are on that reference photo pretty much all the time. So grainy there. We're going to be repeating this process. We'll be taking it back down. Okay, so here there's ochre, lots of ochre around this little shadow here. Coming up into that lid as well. Down here in that shadow. See, by putting our darks in underneath, and then we're softening them all, and the pencil's blending as we put our midtones over the top. The area of ochre in here. I did joke just now about not popping yellow in. Actually, don't try it. Wherever you use blues, if you've used blues, just think about your colour wheel and your basic colour mixing theory. If you go in and put yellow in, anything that's got that real yellowy tinge. So make sure if you're picking up an ochre, pick up your brown ochre or your burnt ochre. Don't pick up a yellow ochre because it will mix and you'll have a green horse. It's as simple as that. So hints of that ochre through there and around that shadow. Coming down here. The sanguine in here as well. Brighter orange will be sanguine, so we'll pop the sanguine in on the next sweep as well. Once you've done this a couple of times and you'll understand how it all works, but if this is your first tutorial, don't put yourself under too much pressure to get everything right. Because obviously if you're using pastel mat for the first time, that's a challenge. If you're using watercolour pencils for the first time, that's another challenge. If you're working, let's say, this pastel mat, the dry layers will push you, really push your patience. Like working with colour pencils obviously anyway pushes your patience, but doing it on pastel mat is a whole other challenge within itself. And it's all about pushing and putting more and more layers on, being brave. As I say to everyone, if you think that you're there with a piece, no, just do one more layer. See, this burnt ochre is not cutting it for me over here, it needs to be the sanguine. But I'm just blending out some of the caput mortuum. With this, actually I haven't done all of the caput mortuum down here, have I? We stopped part way, let me just get some caput mortuum in here. Sweep down here a second. It's the only thing of working with under the cameras. I can't spin my paper, so I have to use my hand a little bit awkwardly sometimes. Let's just soften that edge, ready for a highlight. I'm still at the moment working quite quickly. I'm not too worrying about exact placement. I can tighten that all up with the next sweep of dark to light. We'll start to slow down. Really pay attention. This is roughly going in the places that I want it to go in. Doesn't matter if there's too much there, we'll take it out with our lights, refine, like I say, with each layer that each sweep that we do. So I'm going to speed it up again now. You've seen the principle of what I was doing with the adding the caput mortuum and then the burnt ochre over the top. So I'll just finish doing this all over the area. And then I shall move on to, I think I need to pop in some light blues, some dark sepia, before we hit our true lights, and then we'll go back to dark again. Okay, I'm going to speed up now. So we've now done our darks, so our black, dark indigo, caput mortem violet, followed by caput mortem, and our burnt ochre. Now I was going to pop in some dark sepia from the Polychroma range, but I'm actually going to flip over and I'm going to use 3 of my Pablos. As you can see, these are a couple that I do actually use. I want to pop some browns in. So this one is literally brown. Oops. Not what I was doing there. Brown. I've got the burnt umber from the Polychromo. This one's a Pablo as well. This one is the brownish orange. And also I'm using my light ultramarine blue in the Polychromos range. So that's my next 3. As you see, we're coming up to the mid-tones, up to our lights now. And then after that we'll be then going in with our actual lights, which are our greys and our light flesh. So just going to pop some of this in. I'm going to go in with my burnt umber first of all, my Polychromo. And then we'll just see where we're at after adding this one in. So again, I'm going to speed up again now because it's following exactly the same principle. Watch, working top to bottom where I can see that brown. Okay. Okay, so here I'm working at, I've just sped the video up at 2 times speed. What I'm finding, what I found with this paper as I was working on it and starting to build these dry layers, was that there was a problem in places with the paper, and it was looking like in some areas it's going to take so many more layers than I usually lay down. But what I wanted to do was just get a feel for this little area. So I've just taken the area around the ear and above that cheekbone. I've started to go in with some of my lights, my midtones and up to my lights, like I said I was going to do. But what I've done is just I wanted to have a little play around in here. So I'm using my warm grey here just to highlight through there. And then I'm going to knock some of it back as well. And it is simply testing that area out to see how the pigment is going down onto my lights and how much it's going to fill the tooth, and then I'm going to have to go back into darks. But at this point I didn't know that just how many times I'm going to have to go back into this area before the end of the portrait. So in retrospect, I'm just doing this little mini voiceover and sped this up. Like I say, it's only 2 times speed, just to show that I'm just feeling my way around. And I know I've seen others of you saying that you've had some problems with a pastel mat. I've had problems in the past with, say I've done 500 drawings on pastel mat, I've had issues with possibly 5 sheets. This sheet possibly caused me the most problems. Later on, you'll see some areas, like this area here, I can put down possibly 50 layers of pencil. And then in a couple of areas around the nose, I maybe got 2 or 3 layers down, and I actually had to turn to using a texture fixative to be able to apply more pigment in those areas. So I was too far into this tutorial really to start again. Sometimes you can push on through, it's just a test of patience. So here I've, again, I'll go through this, it'll slow down at the next point. You can just see me going in here with, I think it's my lights, oh, my light in Dancerin Blue. I'll double check that, but I'll explain it in the next stage. It'll slow down again in a second, or in a couple of minutes, and I'll take you through all the pencils that I'm using here. So I'll bring in my light flesh. Like I say, at this point I did not realise just how many layers it was going to take to start building up and filling this tooth. Now with the horse, because it's not like furry, you know, texture, we tend to work keeping our pencil, there's the light flesh coming in, tend to work keeping our pencil on the paper backwards and forwards, almost like in a light scribbling motion, a controlled scribbling. Building up the layers, filling the tooth, because we want a beautiful soft sheen on there. We don't want it looking furry and hairy. There will be some hair detail, fine hair detail going on to show the direction of the horse's hair over the back of the neck and over the cheek, but mainly we're looking to create gloss, and we're working like dark to light. Again, I've got a cool grey there now as well. Later on I will be glazing over with cinnamon, burnt ochre, touches of sanguine will go in there to pull back the oranginess. We'll pull in our darks again, our dark indigo, and I could put mortem. But like I said, this area here, this tiny little area here, will get reworked several times. And at this point I was just feeling my way through the paper. So you might get that on a piece. Again, it's your choice at this point whether you pull out and start again. That's mauve going in, and now a little touch of purpley mauve, which I tend to put into a lot of my brown portraits. But yeah, I was having a problem with the paper, so this was just me having a little play in that area just to see how it was going to go. But don't worry, like I say, it'll slow down in a second, and I'll take you through. I'll move up to sort of the area top left on the back of that back of the head, and start working down through there with you. So it's the mauve, as I say, that light in Dancerin Blue, the light flesh. There's a touch of Dancerin Blue gone in places as well. There's a touch of sanguine going in there as well now, just to pull back some of the orangey area. Just literally up to my lights, but I'm just popping in some of my midtones again, the brighter midtones. Just seeing how it works. That's the Pablo Brown just going in there as well now. Just seeing how they all mix together, really. This horse does drive me to frustration in places because of this problem with the paper. There's obviously just something in the process of manufacture and I will take it up with Clairefontaine because I know that others of you are getting some problems. It's usually with the anthracite I've had the problem before. So I was quite surprised because this was on the dark grey. I guess, I mean, I used to work in a paper mill, and I do know that we did have a wide range of parameters that our quality measures had to fit within. So if it's at one extreme to the other, I just found with this paper though, it's strange that in some places there was a huge amount of texture, more than I've ever known. Yet in others there was literally zero. It's equivalent of working on a smooth paper, really. So, but at least you get a little hint. I show how I use the texture fixative on, so you get a little mini demo of me doing that anyway and showing that it works on here. Just gives me a little bit more grip. And later on as well, I will switch with my lights, and I'll use the sky blue, which is lighter than this again. But these are the colours and tones that I use for my brown, tan, bay colour horses. So a touch of white going in there now as well. The white, like I say, I will use on the really cool areas. It blends, so there'll be more colour going in over the top, so it will all blend together. So don't be afraid to say I do use black, I do use white. The blacks tend to get blended over the top. It just gives extra depth. I blend over the top with my caput mortem and my dark indigos. And my whites, I will soften them back with my light flesh, my sky blue and my greys. Okay, so I'll leave the voiceover there. This will just carry on for a little while longer, and then it will go back to real time, and the real-time voiceover will drop back in again as well. Okay, so I'll leave the voiceover there for now and be back with you in a minute or so. So as you can see, I've just been sort of having a play this area, just starting putting down my lights. So my lights, I'm saying I've got still my warm grey 2 light flesh, then I've got a cool grey 2, my white, and also light ultramarine I'm using there. I'm tempted to use, let's say I've got a sky blue which is slightly lighter again. I've only got it at the moment in my Albrecht Dürer, which I could use in there, but this blue is actually closer because I'm tempted. I did actually put some Indanserin blue into the undertones. I might pop a little bit more back in here, so this is sort of an in-between the two. So I'm going to keep my Indanserin blue to hand anyway, but I'm using this for my bluish highlights. So I started to go in this area here, and again, keeping the pencil on there, I'm using my cool colours over on this side, but where I've been laying the pencil down, it was still coming up quite toothy grain. Let's see if I can zoom in on that area. So it's still coming up. It's starting now to smooth out, and we're starting to lose the tooth of the paper, as in the graininess, so I can now start to look at our final texture that we're looking for. So any places that you highlight, let's take that back out again, any places that you highlight that you take too light, or you lose any of your, see there's a lot of tooth and grain there still, that you lose any of your undertones. We start to work smaller areas now as well, and make sure, see here, really grainy still. So as I was saying, anywhere that we've worked these areas, we take them too light, and we lose any of our undertone. It's quite simple, we just go back into those areas, and we pop a little really light pressure again here, we pop a little bit of our undertone back in there over the top. And also any of these areas where we still need more pigment going down into the tooth, we just knock it back again. So we take it back down to dark. So I get my dark indigo in there, take it back down, and then we'll come back up through and add our highlights. And that's the way that I do it on all of my pieces. I keep, if it comes up to our lightest in colour, hue, value, and it's still really toothy, the paper, really grainy, still grainy there, I just take it all back down to dark and repeat the process, and that is where it tests your patience. You just got to keep repeating that process. So grainy there still, but every time you repeat the process, it's less grainy on your next application of pencil. So here I lightened it, but it's still really grainy coming through. So I'm going to take it all back, and what I do is I take it back down using the tones that I see in that area. So again, there's blues in through here. It's just colour blocking still, but each time we colour block, as I said before, we just start to slow it down a little and be a little bit more precise with our layers. This is all pure colour pencil work now. Like I say, if you omitted the watercolour, adding the watercolour part, you would have just been doing this all the way along, so you'll be going from dark up through your mid-tones, up to your lights, and repeating. And if you can push through that barrier of patience and any frustrations, that is when you'll break through, and that's when you will get you'll start to create your best work. Honestly, trust me. Trust me. I've seen people do it. I've pushed them through on workshops. You can see this area here now. When I put the next lot of lights in, I want to just add in a touch more of this Pablo brown. Could use your Caput Mortem here if you wanted to. A little bit of Caput Mortem crossed with a tiny touch of your burnt ochre. So I'm not thinking of this as a horse. See, this here, this little part here is really, really grainy, so this might have to still be worked a couple more times yet. Just keep an eye on the direction of that line there. Okay. And also, I've burnt umber up through here as well, so touch the burnt umber up here. We still need to really darken underneath this ear as well. But let's work on this area first anyway. So I'm going to go in now with my, this is the cool grey, it's quite cool over here. Let's just see if I can zoom in on that area for you. Okay, so I'm going to work up here. Looking really carefully at my reference. I'll go in here with white as well. Might need a little touch of light flesh in here as well. So I'll start bringing there's directional lines around here, from around the ear, coming down around here, and also here. You sort of have lines going on crisscross on horses, so they'll come down here, but they'll also come across, almost at right angles. So just look at your highlights and just pick out what colours they are. There seems to be pale blue, really light grey in through here, and obviously we will use white as well to mix and really lift the highlights. So I will work them in that direction along the neckline, and I also work them down and across. Okay, some more. This light flash, and all of those undertones that you popped underneath, they were not in vain. They're all going to be shining through. It's weird, I did see a horse portrait finished by someone who's very, very good at horses in colour pencil. But I was looking at a latest portrait yesterday, and it's a bay horse, a brown horse. I just found it very flat. She literally only used shades of brown. There was didn't seem to be any ochres, any indigos, any of the violets, any of those lovely undertones coming through. And I just think it just would have added just that extra, beautiful portrait I say, but it just would have given it that extra lift that it needed. So drop up here into the ear. We've got lovely light blue. So what I'm going to do, I'm pretty much going to show you how I do this area. I've got a lovely light flesh in through here as well. So this is grainy again, so I'll have to just knock this back, the main undertone again, and then bring it back up through. And another thing as well is I tend to lie my pencil on my reference drawing, just make sure I'm getting the angles. I'm going to do a little video to show you what I mean by that. It's something I teach a lot in my workshop hands-on, so again, anything that I can adapt and show you in these tutorial videos as best I can, as close as I can get to having you in a workshop with me, the better. I hope. That's for you to decide. Okay, so some of this grey over here as well. Still really grainy how it's going on in places. And if at all you feel like the pencil's not quite going on as much as you want, just use a tiny bit more pressure. Again, you see I'm still holding it quite a way up, so there's not a huge amount of pressure going on. But if it's just not taking in places, I just add a little bit more pressure. Don't be afraid, that's the main thing. It's just a piece of paper. Don't expect your first piece, your second piece, third piece to be perfect, but your second piece you'll have learnt from your first piece, and everything that you learn or went wrong with in the first piece you'll benefit from in your second piece, and your third piece will be even better. Like I say, you'll see improvements with every piece, and I see that again with my students. I see the improvement with every piece, and that's a fantastic thing to see. If you don't see the improvement, just make sure you keep photographs, scans of your finished works, and pop them up beside each other. I've shown you how to use the whoopsie, I've dropped a pencil. I'm showing you how to use like the Be Funky app. So again, use the collage maker on there and pop your pieces up next to each other. And again as well, remember I showed you how to use the collage maker for comparing your work in progress alongside your reference image as you're working. Make sure you're doing that as you're working this as well. So down here. This is kind of how we work the horsehair as well, because we cannot see the individual hairs. So as long as our strokes are going in the general direction, okay, so I now need to take some of this back, so I'm going to get my caput mortem in here again. Take a little bit of that back out. So let's pop a little bit more of this in here as well. See, I just got distracted there by going up into that main. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here now with my white. Because I think we are ready for it in just this area. And I'll probably go in over the top then with a touch of light flash as well. Not happy with the shape here. Doing is I've just been distracted literally. I just want to get in a touch of this roughness of the mane in behind, because that also gives me the depth of shadow behind that ear, so then I can lift this ear forwards. I don't want to worry too much about the fuzziness of the mane until afterwards. Make sure I've got these lines and angles, because I've got the feeling this is coming down. Yeah, and this highlight all needs to come up a lot more. So here across, this needs lightening. Up across here. That's all it was. Just a tiny little thing that was just bugging me, but until I got those lines there, that dark shadow comes in there. So I just need to push this back up into there. I need to sharpen up my pencils now as well. Still quite rough there. When I say rough, I mean visible tooth of the paper showing through. I'm going to exaggerate this a tiny bit as well. Also, you can soften it back. The white's great. Once you've got the white down, then you can obviously go in over the top with one of your other lights. So I'd probably go in over here with my light flesh, as I mentioned before, or your light ultramarine. This now should show you. So it's still quite rough there, so still need more, even another layer of pencil. Now here as well, I'm not happy with the direction of this line. I seem to have curved this line out a lot, and it needs to come down a tiny bit, so I'm going to take it back. That's coming out here, coming up there. So my line is going in that direction. It's going in the right direction. I think it's just there's a little dip in here. Something small again. That's it. That's better. Touch of the blue going through here again. Touch of my light flush. You can see I'm just rotating my pencils until it smooths out. You can pretty much keep going and keep going and keep going on this. See, I'm lifting off the pencil now, so down, up, down, up, down, up. Because I know we're getting close to our final layers here now. Good with the texture in there. Still grainy. Okay, so here there is signs. If you really zoom in, you can see that that pencil fur is coming. The pencil fur? The horse fur is coming down here, so I'm starting to bring my strokes with a definite line there. Which lines up with that shadow there, that's fine. Just checking all the time that my lines all match up as well, but again, like I said, I've got another video that I want to put together to show you how I do that. I know there's some other people that do post videos online and they show themselves with super sharp pencils just going in very gentle. They're not doing that all the time, and I know because at least one of them's been on one of my workshops. I do know how they work. And it's a shame because obviously some of you see those videos and think that that's how they work through the whole picture, and it's not. They are working. They'd never complete the pictures that they complete if they were literally just working at this speed, tiny little bit, you know what I mean, and building that way. So it's a little bit disillusioning when I see that shown online, but again, like I say, personal choice. For me, I like to eliminate the visibility of that rough tooth. Except, like I say, when I was working on the snow leopard, I just need to check my line again now because I feel that that has come down slightly too far. So I'm going to lift that up as well. So that comes around here. There's the top of the blades coming across there, and it is just, I'll say, a tiny little bit. And here, obviously, the fur hair hair is coming in this direction. So I'm sort of working all of this at the same time, bringing it up. Make sure you've got your lines going at the right angle. Still rough there, so I need to just take that back out again in a second with my Mortem Violet and possibly a touch of ochre going in. It's not my Mortem, I could put Mortem, a touch of ochre back in there. But again, yours should look different to mine by now anyway, because you will be seeing your own colours and popping them in. I hope they look different anyway. That's the thing with my tutorials, I don't aim for everyone to come out with an exact replica of what I do. If you do, that's great because you've listened and you've followed exactly. But in time as well, I'd like you to start seeing your own colours and picking out your own palette choices. I just show you the ones, obviously these are just, this is what I see. lifting all of that, which means then I've got to go back in anyway and pop back in the shadows and a little bit more of the undertone, but it's slightly less each time. So I'm just going to lift this area up now. Still trying to eliminate some of this tooth. And then what I'll do is I'll go in with super sharp pencils next. Normally when I show a tutorial I work a whole area, so I would put in, say, my grey all over and then my flesh all over. But what I want to do is just bring an area close to completion for you in real time. And then I can carry on, speed up a little bit and work the rest of the areas, and you'll understand the principle that I've shown you here. So coming down into here now, we switch back to the grey. Also down through here. Blend some of the cool grey in. I'll probably add some white in here as well. You see, if you added up how many layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, just going in one place, do you know what I mean? And how many times we've already been in on there, so who knows how many layers we can put down, really. A lot. Okay, so some more blue in through here. Now, that needs to go back a tiny bit again. Little touches of... You'll find now as well, you can go back in now that it's starting to fill the tooth, you can go back in and just do little touches with your dark pencils again. And they'll just go on lovely and smooth like butter now as well. Looking for a pencil and it's already in my hand. So I'm just going to show you the pencils again that I've got in my hand. I've got my dark, so my black, my dark indigo and my Caput Mortem Violet. Just pull that label off. And then I've got the Pablo Brown and my Burnt Umber. And then my lights, I've got that light, the ultramarine, the cool grey, the warm grey, light flesh, and the white. And so I am going to have to sharpen them up very soon because we need to be starting to go in there with much sharper pencils now. I just need to just tip my reference image back a little bit. It seems to be sinking. So let's come down here now and just build this area up here again. See, this isn't finished yet either, this is just softening really all of those undertones and building up the pigment in that tooth. Still rough there. It's even starting to frustrate me a little bit now. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video there. I'm just going to sharpen my pencils up a little bit. Okay, pencils sharpened. I've just pulled in another colour as well. I've pulled in my cinnamon, which I thought I had missing something, and it just creates... It's very close to the light flash, but it just creates a slightly deeper tone that I'm looking for down through here. Soften some of this area back with the cinnamon, and that means then when we come back in with our lights again in a bit, there'll be more pigment in that area and it will be less toothy again. Much better. So I'm just using this cinnamon to blend back in over some of those lights. Fill that tooth a tiny bit more. And our next layer should be able to go in and create our actual horsehair, yeah, the directional texture that we can just get a hint of in through here. I knew I had a pencil missing from my armoury as I was working there. I just had to take a brief second just to think about it. That's so much better already. Over here, I'm adding a little touch of cinnamon underneath, but over here I'm going to need my nougat again as well. So before I bring this area to completion, I'm just bringing up some of the areas around it, just advancing them a little bit so that I'm not one whole area complete, next area not touched, if you know what I mean. I want it to be sort of this halfway towards where this is, so each area is sort of evolving next to each other. Otherwise I just find it quite... I'm not one of those people that can work one area to completion and then move on to the next area. So I find sometimes as well, when you go away and you're working on a piece, you can go away, and once you sleep on it and you come out the next day, like say with fresh eyes, different mood, you're sometimes tempted that you want to just change the a lot of your colours again, and it's like, so if you've already completed it and you come back and look at it, you might go, oh, actually, I want to change all of that now. Using that cross hatch over here again, so that's the way the fur hair is coming around, but the highlights are also going in that direction. If you look closely, you'll notice that this cinnamon is actually one of my Albrecht Dürers, because I've actually got a couple of boxes of these on order at the moment. They haven't arrived yet from Faber Castell. So I've actually run out in my Polychromos. I did have a workshop a couple of weeks ago. I think I had to substitute a few of my pencils in because the supplies hadn't arrived from Faber Castell in time. It left me short. So when I was looking at my Polychromos just now, I was thinking, well, which is missing? And I was thinking, oh, it's my cinnamon. Where is it? So I've just pulled out this one from my Albrecht Dürer, and it's absolutely fine to mix and blend in. That's the beauty with most of the pencils, they will work together, the different brands. Not all of them. Well, not all of them will give you the effect that you might be looking for. Okay, so down here. So much better. This is, dare I say it, this is almost at the point where, like I say, I've got my other pencils, I've sharpened them all up ready. This is almost smooth enough now. For me to go in with those sharp pencils and start working it to completion, well, not completion, close to completion. There we go. Let's zoom out again. You can see, hopefully, there the huge difference between this area that we're working. Down here, like I say, there's hardly any pigment on there, even though we seem to have put a lot on there in our underlayers. It's still not a lot compared to up here. So, now I'm going to go in. Sharp pencils, zoom back in again. Okay. So I'm going to come up here. First of all, start really looking close. This is my sanguine here. Yeah, it's going to start. See much now, I'm working much smaller strokes. put an autumn violet. Dark indigo. See how much more closely I'm looking now. Like I mentioned before, I'm using pressure about 2 or 3 here now, but where we've got that build up of pigment where we've been working over this ear, it's just going on like butter. So again, you just won't believe how much tooth there is still left in the pastel matte, but the layers are just simply still just going on beautifully. Still a little bit toothy there, so I might just rework that a tiny little bit. Got to go in here again with my lights, yeah. You see how much I've slowed down now. Still a little bit rough in this area. Okay. Need to add in a real touch of just dark in here. That I'm gonna use my black. Okay. So a tiny bit more of my darks in here. I see madness, I'm still popping in darks here. But basically when you then pop your lights over the top, remember it's just going to blend and soften. There we go. If I go up into that ear now, with, let's have a look, a little touch of, little touches of our sanguine up through there. Yeah, some touches, not much. we go. And then a light flash. Just looking at my proportions. So sort of coming about here. Good news is we're close to getting this area, but you should be able to appreciate just how much work then goes into the overall piece. Okay, so there, that's fine. Now up into this ear. And use the warm grey as well. And then for a bit of exaggeration, here's the white in there as well. Also, looking through my pencils, where is my nougat? Don't say it's in my hand. No, it's not in my hand, but I did have it just there. Okay, so I put it down somewhere for safekeeping and now I can't find it. Nougat, where are you? It's my dark sepia. I think I've stood up and walked away with it. Okay. texture. And then we could try to substitute another one in there, because this is what I wanted. There we go. And I need some more of my dark indigo tone just going up through there as well. And then we'll put in some of our warm grey. And I know we were working the face, but we sort of just continued up here, sort of like a natural pathway. So, little touches of our warm grey up here now. Light pressure wiggles. Highly technical. Okay, now in here we want to add some little touches actually longer horsehair just coming around here. Now up through here. See, if we didn't have that dark underneath, there'd be nothing for this light pencil to show up against. There we go. Top edge of that ear is quite light, warm grey, mixed with that nougat, just to make it lovely and soft. You notice I've just gone in there over that area a few times rather than just go in there with heavier pressure straight away. Just felt my way through it, and then I can go back in and increase the amount of pigment in some of the areas. So that comes up to here. Now up over top of this ear, using the whites just to really pull that tip up. Now it comes around here. It's actually wider than I think. And this can actually just come up there a tiny bit more. And right in here there is in fact let's measure it up against this ear here. Is that good English or what? Okay, so it's a bit more there. Okay, so just these little marks in here. And now I've got those in, I know that everything there is in proportion.